Welcome back. There have been huge developments around the square-kilometre array in the Northern Cape this week. Its capacity is being more than doubled. There'll be, I think, 116 new radio telescopes that are being added to the system. Now, I could talk about all of the structures and the dishes and the equipment, or I could tell you that their multi-year mission is to seek out new worlds and new civilisations and to send radio signals where no humans have sent radio signals before. Dr. Adrian Tiplady is the Deputy Managing Director at the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. Dr. Tiplady, good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time. The equipment is exciting, but more exciting is what you're going to do with it. So what will you be able to see with all of this new equipment?
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for having me. And I think one of the most remarkable things about building any kind of radio astronomy facility is it's like almost building a time machine, in the sense that you're able to detect signals and light waves that have been traveling through the universe for millions, if not billions of years. And so one of the most remarkable things will be perhaps in 10 or 20 years' time, if you ask me the same question, I'll be able to show a video or a series of images that will show the evolution and the birth of the first stars, the first galaxies, the evolution of the universe. And perhaps signs of life on other planets and around other solar systems.
I'm going to come to the life in a moment, but I keep hearing people talk about finding the, seeing the birth of the solar system, seeing the birth of the universe, maybe. But doesn't that mean that we would have had to travel more quickly than light from that point?
No. So what we're doing is the universe is always expanding, right? And as the first stars are created, those radio waves, which we are detecting, have been traveling through the universe for millions of billions of years, and we are, in fact, and the universe is, in fact, expanding at an accelerating rate. So those light signals have been traveling through for billions of years, and we're able to detect them because they're only just being received now.
Okay. So, I mean, back to the idea of looking for sort of alien intelligence. I mean, what do you actually look for? I suppose you look for some kind of evidence of some kind of artificial signal.
So there are two ways to do it. Of course, looking for artificial signals is one way, and looking for television and soap operas being transmitted on an alien planet is one option. But the other option is that natural gases and elements and molecules actually release radio signals. In fact, one of the most abundant elements in the universe is hydrogen gas, which releases a radio signal at, and apologies for the jargon, about 1421 megahertz, which is somewhere in between the same signals or radio frequencies used by your typical cell phone. And the more complex these molecules are, the higher the frequencies that are emitted of these radio signals. And so we're able to detect things such as methane gas, which is produced by biological activity on other planets, and looking for complex molecules such as that.
You also then start to get to the very complicated definition of life and what life actually is, and the difference between what may be life. So, for example, bacteria is life, and intelligent life, or sentience, which is, human beings and many animals.
Yes, and I suspect, it would be both an ethical question and perhaps a theological question as well, in respect of who are we, and what is the meaning of life if we do actually discover it. I've got my own personal views, but I think one of the first things that we'll probably detect is life or signs of life from various biological activities, be it plant matter or animal activities, etc. Effectively, methane production from animals on other planets is probably the first likely discovery. If we are to discover artificial life, or artificial intelligence, should I say, or intelligence from other life forms, I think that would be it'll be an interesting time, should I say.
So tell us a bit more about the equipment. You had, I think, 88 radio telescopes. You're getting another 116 more. What are you able to do with the new equipment that's being built that you couldn't do before?
Well, the MeerKAT telescope is 64 dishes at the moment, and we are extending it by another up to about 20 dishes. The full first phase of the SK telescope, when it's fullest extent will be about 197 dishes. So what we're getting from that, well, we're getting improved sensitivity, which means we're going to be able to detect even fainter and weaker signals that have presumably been traveling through the universe for even longer periods of time. We're going to get more resolution because those dishes will be distributed over a much wider area. The MeerKAT is currently spread over about 8 kilometers or so, but the full SKA will be distributed over, in its first phase, of approximately 150 kilometers. So better sensitivity, better resolution. But with that comes more technical challenges. The amount of data to be produced by the SKA will be exponentially greater than currently produced by MeerKAT, and it's going to require, should I say, exponential advancements in technologies, in compute infrastructures and data processing and artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to process that data and realize the huge realize the scientific outcomes and scientific outputs that can be produced by the SKA.
I mean, I imagine already you get a lot more information you didn't get before. You'll get a lot more information on top of that. I mean, is it even possible that you've actually seen signals but not known what they were because we don't have the computing power, we don't at the moment have the computing power to analyze them properly?
I think that's a really true statement to make, actually. The MeerKAT telescope was commissioned in 2018, and we are still extracting huge amounts of science from the very first initial data runs that were undertaken by the telescope. Those huge data archives of science are now publicly available and available to the global science community to continue to process and extract as much data as possible. So there may very well be a Nobel Prize lurking somewhere in our data archives at the moment yet, and it would just require a scientist in South Africa or on the African continent or anywhere in the world to simply discover upon it, which is very exciting.
On the ground, and I just realized it's, I presume, Earth behind you. I don't know if maybe you want to choose a different planet next time. But it seems to me that it's very likely that what's going to happen is that there'll be one of the world's biggest sort of hubs of astrophysics, radio, astronomy, etc., that's going to happen in the Northern Cape. I mean, if you're a young South African student, if you're someone who's finishing school, you're interested in this kind of thing, I mean, suddenly the Northern Cape is the place to be.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the first things is we try to operate the radio telescope from reasonably remote locations, but it's a huge attractor for youth to get involved in careers of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We've had an extremely successful bursary program run by the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, which has really grown the South African research community by orders of magnitude and has really placed South Africa at the forefront of not only the technical engineering associated with building radio astronomy facilities and similar kind of scientific research infrastructure platforms, but also the science community participating in the science. And so we're really proud to say that South Africa has taken its position as a global leader, and that we will have South African engineers and South African scientists, and in fact, scientists and engineers from the African continent, we're not only hosting the SKA, but we actively participating in the design, development, and construction of the SKA telescope, as well as its science afterwards.
Dr. Adrian Tiplady, it's fascinating. Thank you very much indeed. Really do appreciate the time. The Deputy Managing Director of the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. What an interesting job to have.